Hello and welcome back to Mr. Caro Plays FM24. Today's tip is going to be nice and simple, and that is how to save a little bit of money with doing minimal effort, really. And this is to change the player's contract. Now, it won't be for every player, and it certainly won't be for every league. But if you're taking over a lower league team, for example, you might find that some of those players are on quite a lot of money and not necessarily have the ability to reflect the amount of money that they're being paid. I'm Bradford at the second in this game, and I can show you an example of this. Now, it is worth saying before we get to this point, there are some negatives to this process as well. If we're changing the contract of a player who may not be good enough long-term for your team and we're giving them a longer-term contract, then it could also be harder for them to be sold, okay? Now, the advantages of doing this is that you can make some quick, easy money in regards to saving money on wages, which you can then spend. And if you're a team like mine, for example, that doesn't have any money to spend on wages, if I can save, say, maybe even £300, then it can make a big difference to the players that I would be able to buy in, okay? Now, obviously, you don't want to get that wage budget too far in a negative, but if you can add a player or make some change to bring your team along, it cannot be a bad thing. An example of a player that you can do this with, I have scrolled down prior to this. Really, you need an agent to be involved. If you don't have an agent for a player, and some of the lower league players won't have this, then this is not going to work because it's a negotiation process that makes all the difference. If we picked out an example up here, for example, they don't have an agent, right? So even if they may accept less money, but for this process to work effectively, and I wouldn't say that don't try it, but for this example, I want to show you one that works. So if we go to Richie down here, Richie Smallwood, and I know that he has an agent with a pre-checked. If we go discuss contract with agent, now at the second, his original wages, I believe, were like 2.8, so 2,800 a week or something in that realm, okay? If we were to go... we want to negotiate. He says he wants a wage of 2.3 to 2.5. If you ask for a little bit less, he will accept that, right? And that is very common with players with agents. I've noticed that unless they've got, good form, so maybe this is good at the start of the season, you can massively negotiate down their contracts. Now, it is worth pointing out that from 2.8 to 2.1 or 2.0, if we get it, isn't going to be a massive change. However, like I say, it's all to help with that wage budget to allow you to sign more players, okay? Now, if we go into our wages, and again, we might have to give slightly more because I won't want to give away a signing bonus if I can avoid it, because obviously that's going to have a negative effect on this. You're going to give him an extra deal and you're also going to give him extra money, okay? So it's obviously not going to be great. And in this case, he has accepted that, okay? Now, it is worth pointing out that now this is a 4-year deal, okay? He's not a bad player. He's a player. He's 32 years old. So it is iffy if you want to give a 32-year-old a 4-year contract. But if you're thinking, I want a fast progression, I know some people will say this is a bad deal, giving a 32-year-old a 4-year deal. Now, I don't disagree with that. However, I want as much money as I can to progress my team to the furthest level as quick as possible. So if I'm accepting that as a negative, giving that player a longer term deal, but he's only on 2,100 and I'm going to be wanting to get to the championship, for example, where I'm paying players a lot more, he may retire on his own before then. Likelihood is he probably will, or maybe I'll be able to get him gone on a loan or a free transfer. So that is a risk that I am willing to take. Some people won't be, and that is perfectly fine. But for me, I'm willing to take that risk. So if that was to go through, for example, when we go back to our scouting, you can see that would bring that down by, almost down to 1,000 under. So then you'd be maybe able to sign a player on a free transfer in that kind of realm, okay? Now, like I say, the key is any player in this method that has a agent. So this player doesn't, right? I'm not going to show you another example, but that is basically what I'm saying. If you can reduce that contract, reduce that wages down, then you can spend more money. And it's I would skip through till he accepts it. But what you know from playing the game, you'll just see that number come down, okay? And then obviously that would be reflected if it was a bigger amount of money in your projections. So even if you didn't spend any more money, the fact that you're saving a little money would be reflected in here as well, but obviously not on the minimum amount of, £800 or whatever it was. It would have to be a big amount to show in there, but it would, in theory, show in there, okay? If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Hit that notification button for more videos. Thank you and goodbye.